Well, let's move on to future Olympic gold medalists. As a track coach, one of the main things that you have to do is recruit. Mm-hmm. And I know it's being around some track coaches over the last 25 years. I've seen the kind of pleasure and pain in that. I got to go up to the Wisconsin State High School Championships. I've been out to some high school meets. I've seen people checking people out and going after them and winning them and losing them. Why don't you share with us, Jim Knoedel, your life as a recruiter, what that's like, how you gear yourself up for it, what you look for, and then our listeners may want to apply that to how they just some way in form or fashion in their own life. They're going to take some hints from you as a recruiter.
Boy, oh boy. I always think recruiting is the lifeblood of a coach. It doesn't matter how good a coach you are, it's the athletes you have. And so that's the number one priority as a coach, is getting good athletes. And it's a full-time job. And one of the things I describe it best, because you're making phone calls to athletes all the time, I always tell people I feel like a 13-year-old girl because I'm always on the phone. And I think that's the reality. You got to make a lot of phone calls and you got to talk with a lot of people. It's where you make it or break it as a coach. And the athletes are easy to find. I mean, you go to state meets and you see a lot of mates and you look at some of the results of what they've done. They're easy to find, but the thing that's going to make you a success is attracting them to your university. And I think that's where I spend most of my time, probably 3 or 4 nights a week. I spend 1 to 2 hours on the phone talking with the athletes. On weekends, you're always going to meets that you have free, so you can watch some of the high school athletes. But when you can get the best athletes there, that's the good teams. Because when you see the teams like Oregon and Texas and Florida State and Arizona, the reason why they do so well is they have good athletes. I think a coach at What's the Matter You could be national champion if they had the same athletes. So it's just a matter of attracting the athletes, and that's the biggest thing that you have to do as a coach.
Well, what do you tell athletes when you're after them? Why would they come to UIC as opposed to going somewhere else? I mean, if you're really going for a higher level. I know that there are elite programs in the country, but clearly here in Chicago at times we've had, particularly at Loyola and in DePaul, they've had some pretty elite athletes at different times. What makes a kid want to go to Loyola or to UIC or DePaul, or as opposed to Chicago State or to University of Illinois or whatever level they're at, University of Oregon?
Well, I know the first thing I always do when I talk with athletes is sell them on the academics, because that's the main reason why they're in school. You have to have a program that's going to fit their bill. And that's how I recruit, because I honestly get some athletes that are in an area that we don't have, and I discourage them from coming because I want them to come because of education. That's the most important thing. But the other thing is just the city of Chicago is a great selling tool. I think it's, when you compare a school like Charleston, Eastern Illinois, there's nothing wrong with Eastern Illinois, but if you're looking for the excitement of a city, Chicago is the place to come. So that's a big, big selling point. And then, just you sell the programs, you sell the athletes, you sell the opportunity. I think that's what I do for as much as anything, the opportunity that they will be important in your program, that they're going to be someone that's going to be a key ingredient in the success, that they're not just another face on the team, but they're someone that's important. And I think that's what I really try and sell the athletes. And my commitment to them is very important also. I think too many coaches, as a coach, you always call sending in your workout, and that just means telling them what to do and then walking away. And I think myself, I'm the exact opposite. I'm a hands-on coach. If it's a day like today, honestly, I'd be outside. If they had an outside workout, I'd be outside with them. I don't enjoy it, but I want them to show the commitment that I have to what they're doing, that I'm not going to, if it's raining, I'm standing in the rain. If it's 10 below zero, I'm standing out there with them, that I want them to know that I'm committed as they are, and that's going to help bring them success.
Jim Knoedel, how many people do you have to recruit each year, men and women?
Usually we bring in about, between 15 and 20 freshmen a year, because I have both a men's and women's programs, so you're talking about, between 8 and 10 athletes per team. And sometimes you'll get more, sometimes you'll get less. It just depends on the year. But it's a lot of events to recruit in, because there's, you've got 4 throwing events, 4 jumping events, you've got 9 running events, and then you've got 2 relays. So there's a lot of people that you have to recruit, and it's kind of unique to a lot of sports. It's a little bit like football in that they're getting a lot of position players, but I think that it's definitely a full-time job, and it's something that it spends far too much of my time, but that's the reality.
So if you go up against Eastern Illinois, would your team win?
Since
you've been recruiting because Chicago is the more attractive than Charleston.
Yeah, in cross country we would, in track we wouldn't. And one of the factors in that with a lot of programs, and I think people don't understand, in college Division I, the men can have 12.4 scholarships. The women can have 18 scholarships, and that means full rides. Some schools have all the full rides, like U of I has all the full rides. They have 18 and 12.6. We only have 5 and 5. So it's tough to compete when you don't have the scholarship money, because that's a big factor in bringing in good athletes. And I think if you looked, there's a direct correlation between the amount of money they have for scholarships and the success of the team. There's no question about that.
Why the difference between the number of women's full rides and the number of men?
A lot of that has to do with Title IX.
Yeah.
Because men's programs have football, they've balanced out the number of scholarships. And I can't remember the number, but between each Division I team has to have 7 sports, and they've balanced that out, and so they'll have equal numbers on men's and women's sides, and so that's why women actually have more. And you would see that's the same in every sport. Whether it's in volleyball, you'll see there's more scholarship money for men than women, or I mean women than men, and the same in any other sports like soccer. So the women have more scholarships because of the men's football situation.
Jim Knoedel, what do you think is the future of track and field in the United States?
You know, I've been going to conventions. I'm on the executive board of the U.S. Track Coaches Association. There was a period there after in the late 80s and the 90s where definitely track was very, very low on the totem pole. But I think the coaches and the programs are very aware of that. They're doing a lot of innovative things to try and make sure that track and field is back in the eye of the public, because back in the 70s, all of us can remember watching track and field on TV almost on a regular basis, and it was probably one of the top 5 sports in the world. But now in the United States, it's dropped. I'm sure track and field wouldn't be in the top 10 and maybe even lower than that. But that's one of the things we're trying to do, is get the visibility back up.
I did notice that there were some ESPN seemed to have more track and field events in recent years. Do you think it's anything to do with USA Track and Field and the leadership? I know there was criticism at times.
Yeah.
But hopefully there's some coming back of the sport and development of its popularity. Yeah,
they're really working to get television sponsorship. I know for the past 3 years, the NCAA cross-country championships have been televised live on TV and CBS, and they're doing more and more with track and field. They're trying to get some of the Grand Prix circuit events over here, like at Eugene, Oregon, which is kind of the Mecca, yes, of track and field. And they're doing a lot, and they're trying to make it more fan-friendly, so that they have, instead of meets that are 6, 7, 8 hours long, they have something that 2.5 hours long, so they can get more publicity and more TV coverage.
Jim Knoedel, coach at University of Illinois Chicago. How about telling us how people can find out more about your program, and tell us a little bit about the indoor track and field season that is upon us here in Chicago, where people can find out about it, where they might go, and who will be competing?
Well, check out our webpage at www.uic.edu, and you'll be able to find more about the school and about the program. I always encourage people to come out and watch as we start the indoor season at Lewis University on January 16th. We have meets about every single weekend, but there's quite a few meets in the city. There's meets at University of Chicago, at Lewis University. North Central College has a new indoor track. So there's a lot of facilities and a lot of local meets that I hope some people can get out and watch. But it's going to be an exciting year, and I know we've got some very, very good athletes. I have a couple that are national caliber, and I'm hoping to get them to the NCAA championships, whether it's indoors or outdoors, but we'll see.
Jim, it's really been great having you on Live from the Heartland. I'll let you finish your breakfast, and I'll look forward to talking to you again. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm rooting for your team.
Thank you very much.